being a scientist. If you're new to Maya, you have to start thinking science-wise. And science-wise means backing the truck up and not trying to make this huge complex scene. Work on small experiments at a time. Certainly some of this stuff is documented, but where you're going to find it is via video, sometimes via book that you have to get through some bookstore costing $60. But if you just sit back and be a scientist, you don't have to worry about buying any kind of manual whatsoever. You can just sit and tinker. Tinkering allows for a great many undiscovered things. So in this experiment, I want to show you how to start doing experiments. And what I need is 3 textures, or 3 materials. 3 materials being red, blue, and then I get purple. And that way I can show you what these utilities start doing. So utilities just take a couple things and tweak them mathematically to make something else. Now, a very easy one to understand is blend colors. So if I take a blend color and plug this color in and plug this color in, and I plug that color into this, I get purple. And then this utility, if I look at it, has the ability to have a slider, which is animatable. Okay, that's blend. Now keep in mind, if you had 2 variations of displacement maps and you wanted to blend between them animated wise, this is the node you would use. So displacement 1, displacement 2, slider equals the ability to switch between them very, very slightly. Okay, next, let's say I need something else. Well, these are nice, the divide and multiply. If I take object 1, input it, object 2, input it, and then put it into here, and say color, I get dark purple, and a very cool dark purple at that. And this is not it. Okay. Ooh, it's almost like automotive, you know, where it's got those layers of paint. So that multiply feature is pretty cool. And if you think about it, it works just like Photoshop on the multiply layers, and that's this what I'm talking about. Hold on. Photoshop this, multiply. Okay, so if I multiply a very dark color with a very light color, the dark color will always show through. If I reverse that and say, well, this one is now normal, and this one at the top goes to multiply, you're going to see the same thing, because what? It's a really dark change. So if I lighten this up, however, you're going to see that it's not so bad. Okay, before, after. So that's the multiply feature within Photoshop, and you can kind of wrap your head around it, how it works here in Maya. So same thing, on this other node there is divide. So multiply is to multiply within Photoshop, divide is with overlay. Overlay-ish. Now keep in mind that's probably here in Photoshop. So these are the multiply features, these are the divide features. And then you have soft light, which is also a divide, but this one's based upon color. This one adds white, I think, and this one adds an attribute of the color and leaves the color behind and adds the brightness also. So the brightness is added along with color. This one, the brightness is just made to be a form of white. Okay, next, what I want to do is say, well, in here in Hypershade, all these can be ran by the very same philosophies that I just showed you. It's just how you're going to use them. This one accepts 3 different variations or several variations of this. So I can average them out to color and say, well, there's a purple. But what happens if I add one more shade of red to it? I can go edit, duplicate shading network, and attach that also here to a 3rd input. And what it'll do, it'll average it out and say, well, there's more red than blue. So if I was to ever say, well, maybe I need a displacement map that has a little higher value in it, I can always average it if I needed to, or I can multiply it or divide it using the other one. So that's just a different way of doing it without going to Photoshop all the time with your displacement maps and saying, okay, well, I need this one to be a little darker or a little brighter. Well, why not just add a multiply feature to it, you know, or an average, probably an average, because that way it doesn't keep adding weird tone or values to your displacement. And you can sum it or average it. So there's average. That's probably what you would want to use if it was a displacement map. But for color, you know, you can use sum or subtract even. So I hopefully that gets you in the ability to kind of look through these and see which ones is viable for different applications. I could go over each and every one of them, but that would be boring. Okay, so play around with these and see what combinations actually make sense to the final output. All right, on to the next video.